Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live build. Thank you for joining and welcome in 2021. First live session we're doing here together with Ryan. And the topic, of course, for this live build is building a chat app. Now, I'm sure everyone uses one chat app or another. So we're going to be seeing what kinds of things we can build into a chat app with Mendix. So let me share what we're going to be seeing and doing today. So here we go. So first of all, what's going to happen during the live build? Then we're going to be talking a little bit about what we're going to make today. And then Ryan will do a little demo of the end result of the actual app itself. And after that, of course, we dive into the live build. And we're going to be building out a couple of features, about 5 features and things that we think are important that need to be in a chat app, that every chat app needs to have. After that, we'll do a quick recap of the main features that we built. And after that, there's time for questions and answers. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the Q&A window. So as I said, I started the recording. This will be shared afterwards. So you can watch it at your own pace. You can share that with your colleagues or with your network to go through it yourself. Now, you can use the bit.ly link that you see here on the screen to download the project files. I'll also link it in the chat again. Maybe Ryan can link it in the chat as well. So you can download the project files and create the app yourself. And you can either build with us today, or you can just join us and look at it today, see what Ryan's building. Then afterwards, you can do it at your own pace if you like. We're making a native mobile application, and it's got a couple of features. The main thing is, of course, a chat, a one-on-one chat, a group chat with multiple people. We'll also be implementing encryption, which is really important, the sending of images and files. And a last thing that we're going to be doing is improving the UX. So we have to make sure that it feels and looks like a modern chat application. Now, granted, a disclaimer, Ryan and I are not UX designers, so forgive us for what it might look like, but that's a styling thing. So of course you can apply your own styling to it, your own logos and your own flair, so to speak. So Ryan, over to you. Can you show us what the app looks like as an end result?
Sure. Okay, so this is Chatter. So Chatter is the little chat app I've made. So it is made in 8.17.0. This is a native mobile application, and Jan said, it's got encryption, it's got group chats, it's got images, push notifications, and some other stuff as well. So just a little simple login screen, and then log in.
Now I know your password.
It's fine. Okay, so here is our home screen. We've got some chats open. We've got a little profile for everyone. And to create a new chat, we click this button over here. You get a choice between 2. And we'll talk to Evan. And we can send emojis. We can send images.
That's a sweet setup.
The moment before it sends, oh, that's the image failing. Sorry, guys. There we go, went through second try. The moment it sends, it encrypts that text, and you see it for a moment become encrypted, and then it's decrypted when we view it. Can click the images to see them in a page. So yeah, basic little chat app. You can also share links. I'll show that in a bit. But yeah, that's a bit of a demo.
Awesome. Now, Ryan, over to you. Let's start.
All right, so when you start designing or creating an app, it's always best to start with some sort of concept or an idea. So generally, it's best to start with wireframes, but I just sort of mimicked what I know. So I copied a bunch of layouts from like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Telegram. I looked at them all, and I just sort of recreated what felt natural. And then based off of those references, I created some user stories. So I actually added them here up top. Oh, I've marked them all as done. All right, that's for practice. So these are the stories we're going to work on today.
Yeah. So it's true that the top three are actually already done. So we created these stories and we looked at what can we do for this live build? What are the most important parts that we need to show live and actually build out?
Yeah.
So the first three are already finished, like being able to log in, having a home page, and your own profile page. So those are already in the app and you can actually already use them. And the other ones are the ones that we're going to be building right now. So the first one is being able to build a chat with another user. Then we'll be implementing encryption. And the third one is building a group chat. So one chat with multiple people. And yeah, the last two are sending images and links. For example, a preview of a link when you post a link. That's really interesting. And yeah, the last one is some UX improvements.
Yeah.
So let's get started with the first one.
Cool. So we're going to start with sending messages. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So now I'm back to the domain model. Sorry, guys. So it's a pretty simple model. Let me just zoom in for you. We have just a chat object. Chat inherits from system image, and it's linked to accounts in a bunch of different ways for single chats and for the group chat. Chats obviously have messages. Messages can also contain images, and we use this for the encryption to display the decrypted text. Here's that little profile we showed you earlier, as well as some stuff for logging in and the push notifications.
Yep. So there's a comment here from Nirav. He says, I would have loved to see also the login page built from scratch. If you download the project files, you can actually see those pages and how we built them. So you can look at the settings and the information and how it's built there.
Yeah. Also, when you download any native mobile quick starter app using the template, it comes with a login page predefined. I believe it is in a folder here called login always. It's got everything set up. All I've really done to this page is I added an image. That's really it. I added an image.
Yeah,
So
because it's also good to know for the login for this. So normally for an actual chat app, you would verify that with your phone number, for example. And to keep this simple, we've just used Mendix accounts for now. But what you can do is you can create accounts based on, you can create a Mendix account and link that to someone's phone number, verify it through, an OTP, for example, and then link it that way.
yeah. All right. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. So this is the home page. This is our home_native in native mobile page. So it just starts off with the data view for the current users' accounts, a list of all their chats provided by a data source. This is a list view. Just some details about the chat, an image for a group chat or for a person's profile picture, and then just some stuff for if they have a photo, and here's that encryption display we showed you earlier. Now, you saw in the little demo there, the floating action buttons. So those are where we're going to start. So there's two actions here, the new chat and the new group chat. We're going to start by finishing the new chat functionality. You can double click it to open this window, and you can just say show to go to that action. Okay, so what do we need to do here? We need to create a chat, sorry, not account, and then we link that chat to the account. So to start, we're going to insert an activity, and we're going to create an object, and that is of type chat. We can commit it straight away. It's not a problem. And we're going to set the chat account to be the parameter account. Now that's all we need to do for there. We just need to now show this in a screen. So what we're going to show them is the select user page. So we can drag that in from the left. It's in this #1 folder. It's under pages, chat _ select users. You can drag that in from the left, provide it the data that it needs, which is new chat. and we can say show to go to it. Right. So this is just a page for them to select who they're talking to. It's pretty much split up into two parts, one for one-on-one chats, and then down below here, we have some stuff for the group chats. So we're going to get down there in a moment, but right now we're just going to finish out this bit here. So it's just a profile in their account list, the one they complete. It's a picture and a display name. So when they click on this is where the action's actually going to happen. So if we right click on this list view and say go to onClick NanoFlow, ACT select user, you'll see here. So this NanoFlow needs to link that selected account and then take them to the chat page immediately because it's just one user. So we can insert an activity. And again, we're going to change the chat object. So we want to change an object of type chat. And we're going to set the account recipient association this time. So the other one was for the owner of the chat. This one is for the recipient of the chat. And we just pass it that selected account from the previous screen. Next up, we can just take them to the chat page. So again, just drag in the chat. So chat_view is the one we want. You can select it and just drag and give it the chat object again. And then we can right click again and say go to page. All right. So the chat page is pretty simple. We just have a block up top, which is that same profile again. It's just their same account profile display name. And you just have some buttons up top to delete and mark the chat as read. If it's a group chat, they're just going to show a different view there. But that's not really functionality. That's just so you know who you're talking to. All right. So here's the actual chat object in the page, and that's where our messages are coming. You can see we have left and right blocks. This is because we want that sort of WhatsApp style where it sort of alternates left and right. And then down below, we have a message block. This is where they're going to type their message, and they can click send or attach an image. So for the moment, they don't have anywhere to view their messages. They can type them out, but they can't send them or actually see them once they appear. So we're going to delete this left label and right. And we're going to drag in the left snippet. It's in the pages folder of number 1, create chat functionality. So left goes in the left block and right goes in the right. Very good naming for me. And you'll see here the big difference. Let me zoom out a bit. So you can see the column is on the other side and we've flipped the text around. We've also done some styling in there to alternate the text left and right. But that's basically the only difference between these two blocks. It's just so you can tell which message is yours. If I go in here, you'll see there's just some encryption display. This is for the encryption we're going to complete just now, and that's where the message will show, as well as some blocks for some more stuff we're going to add in a moment. Okay, so they have a place to view their messages now. They need to actually be able to send them. So for that, we're going to work on the send action, and that is called ACT send message. It's this little button that looks like a paper plane. Doesn't have a label on it. So right click and say go to. All right, this is our main send message. Most of our work is going to be in this this NanoFlow. We're going to come back to it at a later point after I've done the send message bit now. But yeah, so this is just some retrieves, our parameters, small bit of validation to prevent them sending empty messages, and then we just commit the data at the end. So what we need to do here is we need to change the message status. The way the messages are actually sent, because they're committed often to make sure it's not lost, the way the messages are actually sent is we just kind of change the status and we filter for drafts. So drafts messages don't appear in the main chat. So all we need to do really is change that status and then commit and sync the data. So if we add an activity to change an object, and then we're going to change the message to be to have message status equals sent. You can see there's a few statuses: sent, delivered, read. We want sent at the moment. And we can commit that again. And that's all we pretty much need to do there to get it sent. Oh, a lot of changes there. All right, I think that meets all the requirements of that story. What do you think, Jan?
Yeah, I think that looks good. I think it has all the functionality we need, all the basic functionality. Now, one thing I am conscious about is I want to make sure that I protect my information so that no one else can intercept my messages or read them, but only the person I'm sending it to. So, of course, we're talking about encryption. Is that something you can build in Next? It feels like a big topic and a complicated thing to do, but I might be wrong.
So encryption is actually pretty easy in Mendix. So we have a marketplace module. It's literally called encryption module. I've got it downloaded already. It's in the App Store modules over here. You can see encryption.
If you want to, how do you add that to your project?
Yeah, well, it's pretty simple. You can just click on the App Store button up top here, and then you can search for encryption in this box, and then you can just click download once you find it. It should be the first result.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then once it is downloaded, you're going to have to set the encryption key. So the encryption key is used to encrypt any value, well, whatever you use to, whatever you're encrypting really, this key is used for it. So the important thing here is that it needs to be 16 characters minimum. I just put in random text. You can have a more specific one. You can configure this to change for each user. You can really extend it out to be as secure as you want. This is just to illustrate the principle. You could make that automatically regenerate every time it's used. There's really no limit to what you can do with it there. So to actually encrypt something, it's pretty simple. We just need to actually call a microflow called encrypt. So we're going to add an activity and we're going to call a microflow with that. And we're going to call encrypt. Cool, if I can spell it right.
And that's the one that already exists, right? That's part of that App Store module, that marketplace module.
Yep. So you can see this is the encryption module. It's just down here. I haven't changed it at all, so I didn't duplicate it or anything. If you guys are...
Oh, I see Ronald's comment. It should be exactly 16 characters.
Yes, yes, exactly. If it goes over, it can cause issues. Yeah, just a little disclaimer. You guys can include encrypting documents. I haven't done it, but it's pretty simple. There's documentation on it. You could do that to encrypt your images or something like that. I just encrypted only the messages.
Yep. So I think this is a good question from Rachid, and I think this question will be answered if we listen to Ryan for just a little bit longer. So the question is, are there any client-side encryption functions in that module? So not on the Mendix server side. We are actually doing this on the client side, right?
So we are on the client in an Nanoflow, and then we are calling a microflow from the client. So this microflow is going to the server. This is actually done via Java action, I believe. Yeah, Java action. So this is running on the server. I don't think there's any client-side encryption stuff right now. I don't really think that's always safe either. I think it should normally be encrypted on the server. But this is actually returning the encrypted value to the client, and then it's storing that. So this encrypted value, which is the message text, we're just going to call that encrypted text. And then we're going to overwrite it on the message. So the text that we entered is overwritten with the encrypted text. And that way, when this gets committed over here, it's going into the database as encrypted text. It never reaches the database in a readable format. So if you are hacked, if someone gains access to your database, you're not going to lose any of that data. So now we've encrypted the text. We've obviously got to now decrypt it to view it. So we can save this for the moment. Don't need it open. Put that there. And here we need to go back to the chat view page. So we're going into the snippet, and we're going to go into this data view over here, the encryption display. This is shared by a couple things, this data source. So if we change it in one place, it will decrypt it everywhere. We can right click on this to go to it. And you can see I've already got it partly built, but we still need to decrypt the text and then set that on the encryption display. Now, remember, this is non-persistent. So the second the user logs out or closes the app, this is going to get garbage collected. It's going to disappear out of memory. And all the decrypted stuff that is vulnerable is going to disappear, basically. OK, so to decrypt, very similar to encrypting, we just call the microflow to decrypt. Give it the same attributes, so it gets the encrypted stuff, and we can just call this decrypted. Oh, spell it right. And then we set this value onto the non-persistent object. So what's actually showing in the client inside the app's screen is this non-persistent version, not the encrypted text. And that's going to take care of the encryption, Jan.
Perfect. That seems much simpler than I thought it would be. So that's great. If you have any more questions about encryption or the chat or things like that, make sure you post your questions in the Q&A window. And when you're watching this, you can actually vote on the questions as well. If you think something is important, make sure you upvote it, and then we'll go from top to bottom after the live build itself. Now, the next thing that I would like to see in the application is being able to chat with multiple people instead of just one person.
Yeah. So we do have a story for group chats. But to be honest, there's not much we have to change. So we're going to go back to the home screen. Quick way to get there if you don't want to search for it, or okay, I do have it here. But a quick way to navigate to it is just to press Control-G. We'll open this go-to menu. Yeah, so just Control+G. And then you can just search for home. It will pop up. You can click it. It will go to it. Little navigation tip for you guys. Yeah, so we're going back to this button, the floating one. You can double click and open it up. And then we're going to the new group chat function. So underneath here, we have ACT create new group chat. When I click show and go into it, now the biggest difference between the regular chat and the group chat is just which association we're using. We use some Booleans for display purposes, but that's really it. So to set a group chat, you just link the account. Oh, sorry, we want to change. We want to create a object, sorry. We want to create the chat and select that. We're going to mark it as a group chat. So this is a Boolean variable, say true. And then we need to set the association. So we're setting not on this side, we're going to set on the account side. So here on this side, we're going to add an activity to change that account. And the association we're setting is account group chat. And we're setting that to the chat. Now, same as before, we are going to show the select users page. Can drag that in. It still expects the chat object. Give it that. Okay, so back here, the big difference is that on this list view, okay, above it, you can see we have a snippet just for a group chat image and a name. Not really exciting stuff. I think what you guys want is down here. So we have a list view. This one only shows when it's a group chat. You can see group chat equals true. So when it's a group chat, we need the ability to select multiple people. So we need to have two different views of the person. We have one for selected and one for not selected. The only difference here is that the association is set on this one. You can see account group chat is set. And on this one, they are not selected. So it's empty, not equal to. And then the containers just have different colors. So you can tell which one is which. So the on-click action, again, is where we need to work. So we're going to select ACT select user underscore group by right-clicking on this list view. And when we go inside, we can see we just need to link the account once again to that new chat. So we're setting account group chat to be the chat. Now, this isn't the current user. This is the account which we just passed in from this page. You'll notice there's no show page there. They're not navigating away. They're just selecting the users. And then once they're all finished there, they come down to the done button. And using this done button, we can then start the group chat. So here we just commit the chat, and then we show the chat page again. And that's really all that's different besides just showing group chat instead of the person's name. That's really the only difference between group chats.
Excellent.
All right. What's next?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the list. So we've now done 3: single chat, encryption, group chat. Yeah, let's take a look at sending images, taking a picture, sending an image, and also a link and a link preview in the chat.
Yeah. So I think what we're used to today is being able to send images and links and that sort of thing. So we can build that out pretty easily. So right now, there's just some images here in the draft. Now, remember, this is just a message to many images. There's nothing fancy there. It's just a list view over this association to the draft message. They don't have any way to view them yet, and they don't have really any way to take them yet. They have a button here, but if we go in, you'll see it's kind of not finished. So I think let's let them take pictures, and then we can work on the view. So we have some native mobile functionality. I've done some extra stuff in here to mark the messages as having an image and that sort of thing. But all you really need is a take picture action that stores an image in an entity. But I'm going to do it my long way because I'm fancy like that. So we're going to change the object to have the message object to have has image, and we're going to set this to true. We can commit that as well. Next up, we're going to add another activity to create an object this time. And what we're creating is an image. Make sure it's not the image in this system folder, but rather the image in our native mobile one. And that's just so we can retrieve it by the association. Now, just set the link that we use to fetch it again. So image message expects message. And now we can call our take picture action. So if we add another activity, this is a default activity now. We can just search for take picture. There's also an advanced one. It's got more features than that. I'm just using the regular one. So we need to configure it a little bit, need some information from us. So we need to give it an image. That is the new image we just created. The picture source, this is where is the source of the picture on your phone. Is it coming from your camera, your library, or either? I normally just pick either. And then for picture quality, you have a range of options. If you choose custom, you have to set these ones down here. For the moment, I'm just going to set it to low. It's actually still pretty high if you have a modern phone. It still looks pretty clear. And that's just for space. So yeah, set these two to empty because we're not using the custom picture. And set a variable name, call it image taken. And that's going to take that picture for us. Then we just need to commit it, make sure it doesn't get lost, and then synchronize it to the server. So it's already being synced. We can just add a commit action over here. So we want to commit that object, and we're committing the new image. Okay, cool. So now that's going to allow them to take a picture. But that doesn't really help if you can't view it. So if we go back into these snippets, left and right have a spot for them both. And we have this row over here. So this row in the green is the one that renders if it has an image or not. We have a small container here, which has just some alignment on it to make sure the images align in the center. And then we're just going to drag in this message images underscore snip. And same as before, it's a pretty simple list view just from database over association, sorted by created date. And the image has a set size and width. Pretty much everything else is standard. There's also an on-click action here. So if they click this image, it goes to a page and we display that image quite large in a page, which I think I showed you guys in that quick demo. Now, we need to do it in left and right. So we can go to right and drag that in again. And that's it for images. They should be able to create and send them now.
Perfect. So I think the next thing is creating link previews.
Yeah. So for this one, I actually created a pluggable widget. So you can find it in the project if you have VS Code or another editor. It's under the custom widgets folder in the directory. You can go through the code here, check it out. It's a pretty simple widget, but it's already in the project if you don't want to go into the JavaScript. So you can just right-click and say Add Widget, search for link preview. Now, this link preview basically expects a URL, some sort of URL or any sort of link. And it just renders that metadata. So it's rendering an image if it has one, some caption, title, and all that sort of thing. Most websites have them. Most shareable links have them, but sometimes they don't. So the URL we're sharing is just the text that we had earlier. I'm hiding this conditionally. So this is only going to show, this link preview is only going to show when the text we send has one of these identifiers. So I'm looking for common website pieces of text like .com, .co.uk, HTTP, and www. If your text contains that, it's going to render the link for you. So we can just copy this and paste it in the right one. And then any link that gets shared is a clickable link with some nice image attached to it. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So I think that's it for files and images. What's the last one?
Yeah, so I think the last one is some user experience features, just to make the app feel a little better, feel modern, and swiping and things like that, quick actions.
Yeah, so the thing about UX is that most people expect it to only be about design and styling. but that's actually just user interface. That's not UX. So UX is user experience. So we want to make sure the users have a good experience when they're using the app. And another principle of UX is something called lean UX, which means you don't want to clutter your page with unnecessary things. Only what's needed needs to be on the page. So we're going to try and clean this page up, the home native page. I would originally I had some buttons in this page, but it wasn't really workable. And I decided instead to use the list view swipe. So this is to add some swiping activity. You can just add a widget, and we're looking for list view swipe. Now you can see there's 3 containers in this widget. Foreground is where we place our regular list view contents. So whatever we want, we can just put it in there. Then in the left and right, these are just purely for display purposes. So when you slide your main elements, when we slide this to the left or right, these ones are going to show. And when you slide it all the way, the action is going to trigger, but it's not going to trigger from here. The actual action is configured in the microflow. So you can see on swipe action, on the widget, sorry, not microflow. So there's an on swipe action, and these down here are just for display. So I made some building blocks with some styles attached to them. So we have 2, one for delete and mark as read. So I'm going to put mark as read in the left chat, in the left background, and the delete chat is going in the right one. Now, there's nothing attached to these. There's a little bit of styling to give it a color and alignments and that. But there's no logic. There's no on-click on this button. It doesn't do anything. It's just for display. Same goes down here. So we need to just configure this. I like the toggle option. And we wanted to, when we swipe, we want to call an nanoflow. So our left block was the mark as red. So we're going to select this mark as red. All that does is literally marks everything as red. I don't know if I need to explain that more. From right to left, we're going to toggle again, and we're going to call a nanoflow. This time we're going to delete it to delete the chat. Well, it's not in the right folder, so we can just search delete, ACT delete chat. Okay, and this, if we go in, so good user experience, we ask, are you sure you want to delete this? We don't just delete it. Only if they confirm do we delete it and then take them home. All right, so that's some nice user interactions with the app. We have some natural feeling swiping. I think the next thing we can do is to put in some push notifications. Now, push notifications are a very good way to drive user behavior. I went for the long implementation this time. Instead of using the native push notifications, I used the push notifications module, again, from the marketplace. It takes a bit of configuration. I'm just going to show you how to invoke it once it's already configured. So we're just going to actually call the send push notification action. But I do recommend there's a very good blog on our Medium page, the Mendix Community Medium page, about implementing this whole module in native mobile, and it's really comprehensive. I do advise anyone to go check it out and read it.
Yeah, I'll link it in the chat as well.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, so the only place we, besides some configuration things, the only place we need to actually worry about push notifications is when we want them to be sent. So we want them to send the same time they send the message, right? Oh, I forgot to do something for the images. Just forgot to double check they're there. So I'm just going to retrieve those images quickly. And we're fetching from message, image. And we just committed. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So all we need to do to send the push notifications is to actually invoke them once they're set up. So we're actually just going to call and encrypt NanoFlow or microflow. So I'm going to add an activity, and I'm calling a NanoFlow, quite aptly named sub send push notification. I've created this, so I've made it a bit adapted to my needs. So this expects the account recipient. You can say OK. Message is pre-populated, and this is the account owner, the owner of the chat, as well as the chat itself. Now, if I go in, you'll see why I need those accounts. What I'm doing here is using all the recipients. I create a list of accounts, and I basically find everyone who needs to receive this. So this works for both the group chats as well as the one-on-one chats. And then I remove the current user from that list. And basically, we loop through here. And we're going to just call a microflow. So here is each account that's going to get notified. So we can drag in from the left here, sub create and send message to user. Now, I'm just going to set this up, and then I'm going to talk you guys through it. So the username, we store that on the message, or you could use the account as well. I just did this for ease of access. The body is the message text. Play sound, we're going to set to true. The badge number, this is the number indicator on your phone's home screen. So you could set it to 1,000 and really freak someone out, or you could just set it to 1, and it will always increment like that.
I knew you were evil, Ryan. I knew it all along.
And then for has images, we just store that on the image. And all that does is if they have an image, it puts a little photo icon in the notification. So this microflow, I didn't actually create. I adapted it from the example given to us in the push notifications module. If you look through here, you'll find the original. Basically, I just adapted it because they expected you to pass this as a parameter. It's a bit hard passing objects as parameters in native mobile to a microflow. So instead, easy workaround is just to pass some string variables or booleans, and then you can create that object on the other side. We get the user who needs it from that username variable, and then we call this send message to user. You can call this action directly, but you have to provide this message data always. This is the most important one. Now, there's a couple other Java actions in that module. You can choose to send it to a device or a list of users as well. But yeah, there's a couple different implementations that you can try. And that's pretty much it for push notifications.
Perfect. So I think we've built out all the main features that we wanted to build out today. Of course, there are many more other things that you might want to do. You know, as Ryan said, we just did images. We didn't really talk about files and things like that. But it's a similar process. Now, if you have any questions, make sure you enter them in the Q&A window. So the first question here is, in a single chat, that can be a lot of messages. How can you show the last message, that it scrolls right to the last message, the most recent message?
Oh. Yeah, so let me I can share my screen again, and I can talk you guys through it. So the app's running now, so I can open it again. Right. So if I just log back in, you guys will be able to see what's happening. So I had to do a little bit of clever styling. And basically what I did is I got the list to populate upside down. It's some simple CSS. I'll share the code with anyone who asks. It's actually, since I figured it out, we have started adding it to the documentation. So it's going to be available for the documentation of, I think, in version 9, anything from 9 up. Yeah, so if I go into So you can see there the nice swipe actions. If I go into Jan's chat, you'll notice whenever I type a message, give him some emojis. Whenever I type a message, it's going to appear at the bottom. Oh, my sort order is a little messed up. But you see it didn't go to the top. It's going the reverse way. Right. So let's try an image this time. They tend to work a bit better. Infinite display there. Oh gosh, no, my image has disappeared. Okay, there's a little glitch there. So this is the Make It Native app. This isn't the server version. I did bundle a real APK and iOS app using the native builder user interface tool. That one works a bit more smooth, and you can tell it's really a lot more better than the Make It Native local version. It's a bit more stable. So if you guys want to see the actual CSS to flip the, wait, I have to stop the share on this one. To actually flip that around, you can get the CSS here in the custom JS. This is inside of your theme folder, inside of your styles native, and then it's in app and under custom JS. And it is this little bit over here, reverse list. So you put this on your list view, you call display flex, and your flex direction column dash reverse. Now this column dash reverse, this is the keyword that's reversing that column upside down. Another important thing is to make sure, and I'm pretty sure this is where I messed up, on your chat or on your list view, you need to also reverse your sort order. Yeah, you see it's going ascending, it needs to be descending.
Otherwise, you're going to have very strange conversations.
Yeah, so what was happening there is even though the entire list view is populating from the bottom, it was actually sorting them by the other direction. So it's rendering the oldest one, it's rendering them in a weird order.
Yep.
So you have to reverse your list sort order as well. That's important to remember.
Is that code in the project files?
Yes, this is in
Okay,
there. Yeah, so this is in the theme folder custom JS. They can get it here. I'll even put it in the chat if you guys want.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah, so let's go to the next question. How is the message encrypted by my chat partner? Does he need my key? So I think the question here is, I think the main question here is, like, where does the encryption happen? Is it true end-to-end encryption, or how does that process work?
So end-to-end encryption requires a public and a private key. This is, I forget the term exactly. This is just a private key encryption. It's just using that one key. It's not shared between the two users. I believe this is using SHA-25 to encrypt. I have to double check the standard it's using to encrypt. But it's a single key. It's not shared. You could extend it out. You could possibly write your own Java action if you want to just use two keys. There's a lot of Java libraries that you could use to do the double key, the public and private key. What I would do is to just automatically generate that key instead of using a constant, and make sure that it's always regenerated for like each new message or something like that. And in that way, not even us as developers could access that. We would need to know the encryption key. We would have to debug it and that to sort of see the key and then copy it and decrypt it.
Yeah. All right. I hope that answers your question, Chuck. Next question here. For the case of encryption, the marketplace has it, we can download it, but how much does it cost to download the encryption component? So the App Store module itself is free from the marketplace. You can download that for free. What if a function that we are looking for is not on the marketplace? Do we need to develop a custom component representing that function? I think basically, yes. Either you have to develop it yourself, or maybe you know someone who can build it for you, whether that's a partner, someone you work with, or otherwise, yeah, you have to develop it yourself.
So our great hope with the marketplace is basically you guys now have access to make money on marketplace. I think it's coming out soon. So we're hoping you share your best code, and people can actually pay you for it to use it. So that's what we're hoping. If you do have some cool solution, please put it out there.
All right.
Hans, I see Hans Lensing had a question.
Yep.
At the moment, yeah, it is only one group chat. So because Native Mobile restricts the many-to-many association, not allowed in Native Mobile offline pages, the correct implementation would be to have a many to one to another many. So we would have a middle object in the beginning, in the middle. And you can use that as a holder to have many group chats. I was just lazy. I didn't think anyone would catch it, so good eye.
We're watching, Ryan. But that's a good point. It's because of the native mobile capabilities. Yeah. All right, let's see. We have some more questions here. What parts will get lost when you upgrade to version 9? Well, that's a good question. And in reality, we don't know what the answer is to that because Mendix 9 is not being released yet. So there are some beta versions out at the moment. So we can play around with upgrading, but we won't know the answer to that until we actually have the general availability of Mendix 9 officially. And that should be coming soon. We don't know the date exactly, but Mendix 9 is on its way. And as soon as it goes live, we can start testing it with the public version. In the meantime, any beta version, everything is subject to change. So we of course, we're making progress, but we can't give a definitive answer for any components that would be upgrading. Of course, we try to support as much as possible. So yeah.
Also, if there are any breaking changes, it's probably going to be documented in that version's release notes. We always strive for no breaking changes, but if there are any, we make sure they're documented. And if we don't catch them, if you submit them, we will update it. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, make sure that you always test your App Store components and any custom components that you may want to use. Yeah. Right, next question. Cool demo. You mentioned when calling a microflow from a nanoflow, you need to use parameters instead of objects. Can you elaborate on that?
So because the objects created in the native mobile side, in the device side, don't actually exist in the server yet, they haven't synchronized, they place some restrictions on passing objects as parameters. I can't remember if it's passing a persistent or if it's a non-persistent. And there's also some restrictions on what you can return. I don't think you can return a list of non-persistent because it's just in memory, right? It's going to disappear when you push it into the ether. So that's why I use strings and Booleans for that. You can, in certain situations, use actual objects. I just find it's easier than doing that way, encountering an error and then realizing you have to change it.
Yep, great. I'm going to speed it up a little bit because we have quite a few questions still, and I want to see if we can answer as many as possible. So the next question is actually being asked twice. So how do you, first of all, is it easy to upload files? And what about encryption for images and files? Is that the same as text, or how does that work?
So images are pretty easy. You can just call the decrypt file document, encrypt and decrypt file document. That will work for both images and files. At the moment, files are a bit complex in native mobile because we don't have like a general file document viewer. At the moment, if you wanted to view, for instance, a PDF versus a PowerPoint, you might have to make custom widgets for both. But I think in version 9 or somewhere down the road, there is, on the roadmap, there is a file document widget, I believe. Yeah. Or native mobile.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. In the beginning, sorry, in the quick demo at the beginning, I saw that after pressing send, the encrypted text was visible.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Was that changed? Why is that?
Yeah. So I actually did that a little deliberately so you guys would see the encryption happening. It was too smooth and like frictionless, so I didn't think people would believe it was encrypted. Um, but basically, if I go back to the code, um, you'll see when we send that message, because we call the encrypt before and then we overwrite it over here before it's synchronized and moved away. So that encrypt is called before and it's placed over there. So there's a split second between this encryption happening and that database commit. You could actually encrypt this in the background if you don't want to see that. You could call like execute microflow in background or something like that. But yeah, it was mostly so that you guys would believe I'm encrypting it and just not that I was tooting my own horn there.
You're a liar. Well, people would have found out, right, if they download the project files and tried it for themselves, I guess. Well, that's good to know. I think we've covered this, but Franz is asking, we've seen plenty of sending up to now. Will we see receiving features like push notifications and so on? So I think we've actually demoed this. So I believe the question is answered. If not, let us know in the chat and we'll follow up.
So just a simple question is you can send push notifications. So I've used the Firebase implementation. On the Firebase version, you can push updates, but the actual synchronization of like the app, the data sync is always a pull request. I don't know if that's going to change in the future, but different modules and stuff like that enable pushing. But for the native sync functionality, that's always a pull.
All right, good. So Eric's asking another question here, and Pim has already answered it, I think. I missed the beginning of the demo. Does the text in the message automatically adjust to its length? If not, how can you accomplish that? And Pim's saying there should be a custom widget for auto grow, but it's available but not for Mendix yet. So I don't know if you can comment on that.
So I'm not sure which part of he's talking about, because if it's the text box that you're typing into, that I've just set a standard width of, I think, 5 lines or 4 lines. On the responsive version of Mendix, it does grow automatically, but at the moment, I don't think the native one grows. The actual text that's rendered in those containers when you're viewing it, that is going to automatically wrap to the next line when it hits the end. There's a design property that you can change which will force it to wrap. I think it's literally called wrap children or something on that container.
Perfect. So we're through with the questions. Thank you so much for asking those questions. There's a lot of talk about encryption. Here are the results of the poll that we did earlier. So, uh, 80%, 90% says encryption is very important or pretty important. So it's clearly top of mind for everyone, and we want to make sure that we do this right in a project as well. So that's very good to know. Thanks for sharing that. So this is the end of the live build. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Ryan, for presenting. Make sure you fill out the feedback form and let us know what you think about this live build, but also what kind of topics you want to learn about in future live builds, so that we can help you out and answer your questions more. Now, the recording will be posted afterwards, so you can share that. You can also download the project files and do this at your own pace. For now, thank you for joining and see you next time.
Bye, everyone.